Last time on the Excelsior Health Podcast.
Yeah, so mindset's kind of going into that last part is, I'm going to say I'm the biggest reader, but I listen to like a lot of inspirational people that, again, draw on things that motivate me. Like I'm big on Muhammad Ali. Like I've always looked up to Muhammad Ali when I was younger, and his story of overcoming, that time in his life. And so you have to find things like that. So, there's obviously David Goggins and people like that, and Andy Friselis that and you listen to his podcast, and those people have motivated me to shape my mind and be more regimented and be able to do things that maybe I thought I wasn't able to do by just listening to stuff like that. Yeah,
things that they do. And at one point I want to emphasize with that, because I agree with that. That's a big part of, for me, it's, you don't have to copy those people. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not trying to be Muhammad Ali. He's trying to be Shea Pierre. But I guarantee you've modeled some of those behaviors, right? And that's a big thing, is you can see someone so far away from you, they're in a different category. But if you just model things that they do, those results will come to you. And one thing I'll say, back to what we were talking about, positive relationships, that's what Shea's been to me. We've known each other since we're 16 years old. He's someone who's always pushing me to be better in the different areas of my life. One quick story. So, we used to be rivals in practice. So Shea plays DB and I played receiver. I'm 1 year older than him, and we're always competing and going at it. There was one practice, I don't remember how it went, but we're doing, I don't even know if you remember the story, but we're doing, I don't know if it was Skelly or if it was full 12 on 12, but we're going at it, me and him, we're talking shit, and we're hitting each other right in the face with the helmets. And then I go and catch a touchdown pass. I think you got distracted. I think they were trying to call an audible to you, and then they threw the touchdown to me. So I got the touchdown. I grabbed the ball and I whipped it at Shea's head. And I said, "That's right, motherfucker," because he was in his first year and I was in my second. And he was trying to show me up. I was like, "This motherfucking rookie ain't gonna do that." And then I don't know if you remember, coach grabbed me by the face mask and reamed me out and made me run for doing that. But that was a lot of time. Our relationship is pushing ourselves in practice, but train against a guy like Shea, he was an all-star. That probably got me to be an all-star, is because just the constant competition. And then later on in life, it wasn't that we were competing with each other, is you would often call me, "Hey, Cory, what are you doing?" I'm calling you, "Hey, man, what are you doing with your business?" But for me, Shea's someone who pushes me to be better in all my areas. I see what he's doing with his business, and I'm like, damn, this guy grew up just like me in the following that he has. But it's his physique, his health, his fitness, that's never an excuse for him. But one of the things that I admire the most about you is the way you are with your family. And you mentioned that, hey, you've been with Laura for years. I've always known you just having Laura as your girlfriend, but then your relationship with your kids. So I think a lot of people see you as this superstar, this guy that just knows how to speak on camera and has it all figured out, and that it's been all easy. But I know that the guy who's here right now with 1 million followers and your family and the successful business that you have, you built that shit from scratch. That's something you've worked on for years. So maybe you could let us know a little bit about the background of the story of, growing up from a single mom and all the things that you've had to work on to be able to be this amazing presenter and guy that you are today.
Yeah, so I'll tell the story, and I never like to tell the story as feel sorry for me or anything, because everybody's got a story, everybody's got a challenge, everybody's got obstacles in their life, and I like to tell it as somebody else out there, maybe you, has gone through the same things, and maybe you feel like it was embarrassing, or you haven't been able to talk about it, and there's no outlet. So, when I was younger, I had a single mom, and I lived in Hamilton at the time. This is Stony Creek, Hamilton. And my mom's white, my dad's black. And so we lived down the mountain in Stony Creek, and there's majority of white people back then. This is in the early 1990s, and 1993. And so, I used to go to school only black kid in the entire school. And I had pop bottle glasses, curly hair, just didn't look the same as everybody else. And at that time, I really didn't realize it at the time until I got much older. I used to get bullied a lot, but also around, grade 3, I was diagnosed with ADHD, OCD, Tourette syndrome, learning disability, which was the biggest one. My mom, she was never home a lot. God bless her soul. She worked so hard. And I always say we were never, I was never poor. I was never, never didn't have any good clothes. I always had the PlayStation, the new bike, all those things. My mom gave me everything I could possibly have, but she didn't give me, a lot of attention when it came to school. So when I was, getting diagnosed at this time, I could barely read, can barely write, very shy, could barely, form sentences very well. So when I was in grade 4, the school decided, we got to ship this guy to another school, which was up the mountain. And it was a school called Blessed Sacrament. And I can always remember, this is kind of where my regimen started. Every day we would wake up at 5:30 in the morning, and I'm only like 9 years old. And I would have to be ready to be on the bus at 6:30. It would come pick me up because we're down the mountain. And I would have to walk like 10 minutes to a bus stop with a couple other kids. And this bus would come, and it would take an hour to get to school every single day. And then I'd get to school, and I'll go to a special classroom for half the day. And I always felt like, and I was very good at sports, mind you. Like I've always been naturally good at running and playing football and all these things. So I never really felt like I was like, like the other students. So they would put us in these cubicles, and they wouldn't do this nowadays. Like my wife's a teacher, and they say the curriculum is way different than it is. But back then, they put me in a cubicle, and they would just say, "Hey, underline each word. Write the date on the left-hand corner. Trace out A, B." And like I would go through this day after day, and a teacher would come by and check the books out, and then I would go to a normal classroom for like the last maybe hour of the day, and then we'd get back on the bus for an hour ride home. And so like everything was so structured and so regimented, and I have to do so much stuff. And after 1 year, they sent me back to my normal school. And then at that time, we ended up moving to Markham. Then we moved to Mississauga, and I went to many years later, I get to high school. Okay. And I started off in what we call, and I don't know if it still is called locally developed. It's called locally developed. It's like the lowest curriculum in high school. And I'm in a class of like 6 people. And I'm always figuring out like I feel so smart and so intelligent, but like they're always dumbing down things for me because they labeled me when I was so young as, all these things. And so there's like, "Oh, Shea, like you're getting like 80% in this stuff." And then they had me in there until I was about almost in grade 11. Okay. And I was such a great football player, and I'm not trying to big myself. I was a really good football player. And all these university scouts were coming, and they're like, "Shea, like you can't play university football because you're in locally developed. You're not even in college level classes. Okay. You can't come to school." And so I'm in grade 11. Okay, not a lot of people know this. I'm in grade 11, and I remember the guidance counselor just saying, if you want to do anything with your life, you're going to have to try to go to college, university. So that summer, I went back and I did summer school courses, and I did English, math, science, all the grade 10 ones, and I was in grade 11. So I went back and did all grade 10, and then when I was in grade 11, I took all grade 10 university level classes. And I was getting like 70%, 80% of them. And they're like, "Man, this kid is a lot smarter than people think he is." And so by the time I finished school, like I had like, I forget what it was, like more than the curriculum amount of credits. Like there was 40 credits. I had like 60 because I had redone all the college level from grade 10, 11, all the university ones. And I came back in grade 13. I redid them all the grade 12.
I remember that. Like the coach is saying, like, "Yeah, this guy's working on his stuff to make sure he's getting in." And
yeah, like
I remember all that.
I had done them all, and like I was in study rooms. Like like my mind, like it's a little bit different. Where like I'm not the best when it comes to having to sit there and have to do work, but like if you give it to me, it just takes a lot longer. And so like I'm a very visual. I can see things. Like I can watch somebody train, and I can be like, okay, this was wrong, and that's why I can't be sitting there writing stuff. Anyway, so that's the story. And so then I make it to university, and I ended up getting like 80% in like all my courses. And the reason being is because I didn't miss one class. Like I'm so regimented, and like I have like the OCD kicks in. Like I gotta be here at 1:30. I'll be there at 1:20. And another funny story, I remember like me and Cory used to go train. Okay. And Cory's lackadaisical a little bit in university. Okay. And he might not remember this.
I don't think I remember it.
And so Cory would be like, hey, Shea, can you come pick me up to go train? And I would message Cory and be like, I will be at your house at, 5 p.m. Make sure you're outside. And then Cory's like, forget it, I'll walk. Right?
I don't even remember that. Yeah.
Cory wasn't going to be outside at 5 because I had picked him up before and he was like 5:05. And if you're late, like I leave people when they're late.
You sure
like,
this is me or Marcel or Buck?
This was Cory. Like Cory messaged me, forget it. I'll get there myself, because he knew that I was gonna go, and I probably would have pissed him off because I probably would have left at 5:02, 5:01. All like that's just who I am. Like I have like anxiety if I'm gonna miss something or if I'm not on time, and so I tell that story because like I've overcome so much from like being young with a pop out glasses, making funny faces, not being able to express myself, not being able to read or write, to now being able to start a business and be a very successful business. I'm selling programs online. I had speed training equipment to so many things. Like it just comes full circle that like you can do anything. It doesn't matter if people put labels on you. You just got to put yourself in the right environment. I was fortunate enough that my mom was very supportive, and she was finding a lot of different mentors and a lot of different resources for me over the years to help me. And I never blamed the school system for, how, because I could have been out of those things if they had, just said, okay, we'll give this guy some different resources. Well, we're not going to because what happens is once they label you, they just try to put you aside, and then they just try to, I wouldn't say like they don't help you, they over help you. So they try to give you so many resources that like they don't let you do things for yourself.
Yeah.
And if you don't do things on your own, and like it's like if you go underneath the squat rack and you got 100 pounds on, but I'm spotting you the whole time and not giving you any like you're not doing it on your own, you're never gonna learn how to squat. Like you're never gonna be off balance and feel where to shift your weight and how to hold the bar properly, and like you're in the bottom struggling to get back up. I never had to struggle, right? People were always just like, oh, Shea, it's okay. No homework today. Oh, you can't really read that word. Don't worry about it. And so like, they were never like, like it just, they'll help me, but they would never let me struggle through it. And so as I got older and I had to learn how to struggle and be in university on my own, and like I figured it all out, and I wish I figured it all out a lot earlier in life. So nowadays, like I let my kids struggle through a lot of stuff, and like, man, they read very, very well, right? But we make them struggle, and like we don't just give them the words. Like we make them sound it out until they figure it out, and like things like that. Like so.
But this is the reason why I want Shea to kind of talk about his story is like, and you know this, you've had mentors tell you this, is people will look at you and they'll be like, this guy has it all figured out. It came easy to him. Sports to a certain extent came very natural to you. You worked on it, but like, you are on camera talking to, you get millions of views. You know what I'm saying? You get lots of people seeing your stuff. I always tell a lot of my people that I like look at you and they're like, oh my, I'm like, this guy built that. He wasn't that guy. He was the guy who was a little bit more quiet, more reserved, into his own, but he's become this guy. And I'll just give you another story is when we went to get those suits. So shout out to that. What's that store called again?
4 Men United.
4 Men United. He took me there as a friend. He said, hey man, I have this sponsorship deal. Come check it out. And I was just watching Shea interact with the guys, and he was like, you were on camera. Like basically you were just showing your charisma, your communication skills. But the point that I'm trying to make, guys, is maybe right now you are severely overweight. You're severely deconditioned. You're weak. You don't have the career that you want. You don't have the confidence. You can build that. But the way you build it is a lot of what Shea talked about today is you have to be consistent. You have to surround yourself with the right people. You have to be willing to invest in yourself, whether that's from a fitness standpoint or a personal standpoint, right? And you got to be willing to put in the work, right? So I got two more questions. This question is, I'm not a single dad. I grew up from a single mom. So I know how much is important to have a father figure in our life. Both me and you, raised by single moms. But now, we're very involved in our kids, and you're someone that I always look at. I'm like, oh man, yeah, look, I've seen another video of Shea working with his son, and it motivates me to be very present with mine. What's part of your motivation to be there for your kids? Because you do a lot of stuff with your kids. What's part of your motivation, and what do you do to reinforce this healthy lifestyle with them?
Yeah, and I would say, first of all, like, for not having a present father in my life, like the greatest gift that I have in my life right now is my children, and I take that role and that responsibility. That's the biggest thing in my entire life. Like I take that.
That's your number one job.
Yeah, it's the number one job. Like, and I don't take it for granted. And I got that from my mom, and you probably get that as well. Is like, they did so much for us to succeed, and so I want to be able now to give that to them. And I also want to show them what the standard of excellence is and what it is to be your greatest self. And I want to be the biggest role model in their life. Like I had mentioned before with like Muhammad Ali, like I looked up to him as like a father figure and his swagger and his confidence and his personality. And I said, I want to be like that. But I don't want my son to look at Muhammad Ali. Like I want them to be like, I want to be like my dad.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want to be like him. So when I'm making my breakfast for champions in the morning, I'm showcasing that to the world. I'm also showcasing that to my children. Like, hey, this is what healthy eating is. And my oldest son, Cruz, he knows the difference between like what good food and bad food is and what that will do for you and how that will make you stronger and fitter and faster and how it can help your studies and your mind. And so he knows what good food is by me telling him, like, being the example of like, I'm not, like I tell him all the time, like, I'm not eating bad food. And he said, why? Like, why don't you have that donut? But I say, it's not good for my body. And he's like, oh, okay. Like, I don't want a donut, before hockey because it's not good for my body. Like, our children mimic exactly what we do. So if you're overweight and you have negative thoughts or, you're not training and you're, whatever it is, your children are going to do exactly that. Or they might have the reverse and they might say, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be like my parents, but that might be many years down the road when they realize that their life is not going in a certain direction. It's because of their parents and have resentment towards you now. So you want to be your greatest self to be the motivating factor for them. So, I take my children out every single day to start their day with some type of fitness. If it's either getting better at their hockey skills, my son plays hockey, or going on bike rides, or doing fitness training, or doing sprint training. We're doing something to start their day off because I know how important it is from a child that has ADHD to move and be active in the morning. Because if I used to go to school and just be bouncing off the walls because I had nothing to express myself. Yeah. And then also with a person with ADHD, if you don't have healthy food, when I was younger, and again, my mom had no idea, and a lot of parents, in our generation didn't know, these highly processed, sugary foods are terrible for people that have ADHD, and it can cause you to bounce off the walls and not be able to process information more clearly, give you brain fog. That's from food. And that's why I was so adamant before about food being a culprit on your well-being, your inside well-being. So yeah, so those are the things that like I do with my children. Like, I don't want my children to look at me and be like, oh man, like, I love my dad, but that guy's not fit. And because I do everything, I tell them, they trust me 100%. Like when they see me sprint, they're like, man, I want to be, and I always tell them, like, you're never going to beat me in a race. Right? Like, because I told them, like, I'm just faster than you, but I know
Cruz is gonna beat your ass soon.
he's not gonna. He's not going. Like children, they look at you and they know, like, you know, this guy's full of shit, right? Like there's parents that, you know, and I don't want to be that guy, but there's parents that will send me their children, and you know, they're not in the greatest of shape, and they send them to me because they always say my children will listen to me.
They won't listen,
right? My children don't eat properly. My children won't train. They won't listen to me because, and I tell them, well, I don't really say to them, but it's because you don't do those things. Like, you sit on the couch, you eat bad food, you don't get proper sleep. And so what do you think your children are going to do? They're looking at you as a role model, right? And I'm always grateful that they bring them to me and I get to be a role model for other people. But it should always start at home. It should always start at home, because those children will get molded into exactly who you are.
Yeah, in our program, what we call that is becoming the one. We say, hey, part of this transformation journey is you go from being a warrior to a warrior, a whiner to a winner, and like just being someone to the one. And the one is that person that, like, man, they're the one that changed their family's trajectory. And there's a line that I love to go along with that is like, every kid gets to a point in their life where they find out who their parents really are. If their like parents are like for real or not, or they're like, oh, like, you're not really who I thought you were. And it's like a lot of what Shea's saying is like, man, take care of your health and your kids are going to listen to you more. But more importantly than listening, they're going to model the behavior, right? So for you, listen, man, you're doing a fantastic job. I know what it's like, you know, to be raised by a single mom, you know, like athletes. A lot of guys in our situation, that would be their excuse. Oh man, I didn't have a dad in my life, you know, like that's why I'm not a good man or I'm not a good father. Is like, you can either have the excuse why or you can have the reason why. And you've definitely made it the reason why you're so present in your kids' lives. So one thing that I do want to end off with, Shea, is like, there's a lot of people that are busy professionals and busy parents that they don't know how to get them started. I think step one is transform yourself. But step two, I think your program that you got out right now of, like, I had my son do it. It's 10 minutes long. Like, it's such a good, convenient way to give them a taste of how to be fast, how to be strong. So maybe just to end off, just let people know what the program's about, where they can find it, how they can follow you.
Yeah, so you can go to pepspeed.com. So that's PEP speed.com. And we have two programs. One is a program that I teach you as a parent or a coach how to facilitate a 3-phase, 12-week speed program that can help your child get faster and more explosive. Or I can do all the heavy lifting, and you can come on our Youth Speed Academy, where he was talking about just 10 minutes a day, where we have a plyometric speed training day, so more jumping, or a speed mechanic to teach your child, you know, the form and technique of speed and the art of speed. We have body weight strength training day. We have foot speed, and we always have a cool reaction day. You can go on that website and you can join us there. Again, 10 minutes a day, because you don't need to overload your child. And you can fit it into the morning. You can fit it into before their practices, before games, or a great way to warm them up. But it's also a great and fun and engaging way to teach them. I say speed is a skill, and it can be taught, just like any skills that your child is in their sport. If they're not good at, well, I'll say this, if they're not fast, because speed is the biggest factor in sports, if they're not fast, they're not going to be able to express those skills that they're learning. And if they're slow, then guess what? They're going to be behind the 8 ball, and they're always going to be trying to play catch up. And you're going to be frustrated as a parent that you're spending all this time and money, bringing them to this tryout, this team, and they just can't get over the hump. When your child is fast, it's everything in sports, and that's what I teach. To teach them how to be fast and how to be explosive, and our saying is to be a game-change, electrifying, show-stopping athlete. And so check it out. I think you're going to have a great time. And
I think also just Shea does it in a way that's very entertaining, very engaging. And I think it's more than just speed. Like, you have a good way of coaching where you get people excited about fitness. You get them developing their mindset. You're always attaching those type of things to getting faster, but it's developing the mind too. So I think if you have a kid that, whether they're not in sports or they should be, but they just want to be fit, like definitely take advantage. The program's free, right?
Yeah, we have a free program, and then you have a monthly subscription. The free one is 30 days, and it tells you our 5 key mistakes that your child might be making to get faster. And then literally the same day, you can jump right into the program.
Yeah.
Like it's same day, get your child faster. It doesn't cost you anything, and it's 30 days, and you get to be a part of our Speed Squad community. You get that costs nothing, so you get to talk to me, talk to other coaches, parents all over the world on speed, mental fortitude, nutrition, sleep, recovery, all those things. So it's a great community to be a part of.
Well, hey, man, I know you got to get running. Again, picking up his kid, probably going to hockey, going somewhere. I appreciate your time. Super busy guy. One thing I want to say, hey, dude, I'm super proud of you. Everything you accomplished. I literally remember, finishing school. And I don't know if I probably just was training, in people's backyards and things at that time. I remember you were doing the same thing, and you called me and you're like, hey, Fernandez. And we're just talking, asking questions about like, man, what are you doing with training? How are you making money? What are you charging? And then I don't know if you remember I met you at Starbucks.
Yeah,
it was Starbucks. Was it Starbucks or Tim Hortons?
Tim Hortons, yeah.
Was it Tim Hortons? I thought I would have been better at that. But anyways, I met him at the coffee shop, and then I brought him here where there was nothing at all. I just said, hey, Shea, like this is going to be my place, man. Like this is what I'm doing. I'm going to build this. And to see it actually come to life has been amazing and be way more successful than I ever imagined. But to see what you've done from being in your basement, all the athletes, all the hours of free training that you've put in to about to hit 1 million followers, to have a successful business, but all doing it with your integrity, your values, and being there present for your family. So you inspire me, man, and you're going to keep inspiring more people. So I appreciate you, bro.
Absolutely, man.
All right, guys. So this was an amazing episode. Make sure you guys like it, subscribe to the podcast, share this out to any busy professional or busy parent that needs to take control of their health so they can follow those tips, but also anybody that would benefit from helping their kids get them, on the fitness journey. I'm Coach Cory. This is the Excelsior Health Podcast. My man, Shea Pierre, and we signing out. Beastin'.